Hey YouTube, this is Do-It-Yourself Junkie with my Couch to 5K versus Learn to Run comparison. Couch to 5K started maybe about 10 to 12 years ago. That's when I learned about it anyway. And it was supposed to be a program to help people that haven't run before get from the couch into running up to a 5K. When I bought my Garmin, I started looking for apps that would track a similar function of the Couch to 5K, telling you when to run and when to walk. And I found Learn to Run, which was free as long as you have a Garmin to run it, versus the Couch to 5K apps that I found that would run on my phone. Usually cost something. They'll maybe give you the first week for free and then expect you to pay for the rest of it. Anyway, the Learn to Run app was created by Mick Smith, hopefully I'm saying that right, and it's available on the Connect IQ store through Garmin. But later on I'll have slides that show both Couch to 5K and Learn to Run, basically the intervals that you're supposed to walk and run for each day of the week. And you could just write those down and run them basically without anything special, any special watch or any cell phone to track it. The other thing, if you want to do Couch to 5K, I'm not sure if there's a Garmin app, but I'm sure that there's stuff that could be found for cell phones and maybe even Apple Watches and stuff out there if you go to like the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. But I'm sure they're going to cost something. But I can't really say one's better than the other because it costs something, or that one's better than the other because it's free. That doesn't always line up that way. Anyway, let's get into looking at the difference between these two programs. So for this comparison, I basically took the time intervals that you're supposed to walk and the time intervals that you're supposed to run, and I figured out distance based on an average walking speed of 3.5 miles an hour and an average running speed of 6 miles an hour. And everyone might be a little bit different, especially if you're not running or walking on a treadmill. It's really hard to hold that constant speed. But I figured this was a good place to start, as those are normally the speeds that I'm walking or running at. And really anything slower than 6 miles an hour is oftentimes considered just a jog, not a run. And here you can see in the graph that the Couch to 5K, it starts off just above the 2 mile mark for your distance, while the Learn to Run is a bit softer, only pushing you to walk/run 1 mile at the beginning week. And then they just continue up from there, with the Learn to Run topping out roughly right at 3 miles. And the Couch to 5K is actually getting closer to maybe 3.55 miles. So it does seem like the Couch to 5K is harsher than the Learn to Run program, but we should also look at the percentage of time that you spend running compared to this percentage of time that you spend walking, because those have an impact as well. That 2 miles for the Couch to 5K in the beginning is probably mostly walking. You'll also notice on the chart that I have something called My Run. I didn't like the abruptness around day 20 of the Learn to Run. All of a sudden it has you running for 30 minutes straight, no walking. And that most of the people reviewing this on Garmin feel like this might have been a mistake, but it's in there. And I managed to do it. It wasn't all that great of a run. So I started looking at how I would write a beginner running program, and that is what the My Run line represents. There's a lot of walking in the beginning to get close to that 2 miles, but you'll notice that the distance increase is a little more gradual than the other two programs. And I might release that after I have a chance to work on it a bit more. Here we can see the comparison of percentage of total time for each program spent running. So let's say you exercise for 30 minutes in one day. but only 30% of that time would be spent running if you're doing the Couch to 5K program on day 1. So that's how that works. And as you can see, the lines pretty closely overlap between the Couch to 5K versus the Learn to Run, even though you're traveling a lot further distance on the Couch to 5K. But it is a little bit softer start on the Learn to Run. Day 1, you're only running for about 12% of the time versus almost 28% of the time on the Couch to 5K. And then the Learn to Run also seems to be a more consistent slope upwards towards day 9 and 10 versus the Couch to 5K that has a real gradual increase in running, and then all of a sudden on day 9 you have a huge spike. You jump from just over 30% to roughly 52% of your time is then spent running all of a sudden. And as you can see, that's where the My Run program that I'm working on kind of stands out from these other two programs. For the first week, you're not running at all. It's all walking. So that's why the line is stuck down there at 0%. And then I have a very consistent, almost straight line increase in run time throughout the entire program. And as you can see, around day 20, 21, the Learn to Run has that horrible spike where all of a sudden your 30-minute run is 100% of your exercise. And that was really harsh, and that's part of the reason I started working on the My Run program. So looking at this chart, other than day 21, the Learn to Run seems to be a little bit easier program to learn how to run with. And part of that is due to the fact that the Couch to 5K is only 9 weeks long versus the Learn to Run program, which is 12 weeks long. And that's why I think it might be the better program or easier program to start with, especially if you're a beginner runner that hasn't really done any running. The other thing you might notice is that the Couch to 5K only ever gets up to about 75% of the exercise time is spent running. And that's because even when you're running for 30 minutes, the Couch to 5K has a 5-minute warm-up walk and a 5-minute cool-down walk as part of its time. And so that's why it never hits the 100% mark. Whereas the Learn to Run, unfortunately, just throws you into running without any sort of warm-up or cool-down. And if you do choose to do that, it's technically not part of the program. Here in this graph, you can see the total time spent exercising for each program. And the Couch to 5K does 30 minutes minimum, and then eventually around day 20, it starts increasing up to about 40 minutes. Whereas the Learn to Run is only 15 minutes when you first start, and then the second week actually drops to 14 minutes. And then it eventually gets its way up to 30 minutes near the end of the program. And a lot of people like to work a minimum of 30 minutes, so they always have a problem with the Learn to Run being so short. What I did in that case was I just took that extra time, that extra 15 to 16 minutes, and went for a walk instead of worrying about trying to maybe repeat the program. And basically that's how I got the ideal for My Run. As you can see, it's a pretty consistent 30 minutes all the way through up until about day 30, 31. And that's where I had hit the 3-mile mark, but a 5K is actually 3.1 miles. So I had a couple extra days where you build up to that actual 5K distance, which at 6 miles an hour requires you to run about 31 minutes versus just 30. So that's an overview comparison of the programs. Later in this video, the slides are going to cycle through each week, and it'll have a day-by-day listing of what you need to walk and what you need to run to complete the program. And basically my rules were I would walk at 3.5 miles an hour minimum, I would run at 6 miles an hour, and if I ever had to walk during a time when I was supposed to be running, I would repeat that exercise the next time that I went out for an exercise rather than advancing in the program. Given the choice between the two, I would recommend the Learn to Run over the Couch to 5K. It just seems to be a little bit easier, especially for a beginning runner. Maybe someday, if I ever figure out how to get the My Run program exactly how I want it, I'll release that, and at that point I'd probably recommend it over the other. The other bonus with the Learn to Run program is once I finish the 5K mode, I can switch to the 10K mode. So 5K is a 30-minute program. The 10K takes you up to 70 minutes when you hit week 12. It's another 12-week program. And then past that, they have the 21K program, which is like 130 minutes or something like that. So it has several programs that I can continue the advanced just in the single app. So I highly recommend that one. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please hit the subscribe and the like button. And the rest of the video is just going to be about 10 seconds per slide, showing you the different weeks, week 1 through 12 of the programs, and the walk-run intervals that you need to complete for those days. And I will have timestamps for each of those that you could just go there, pause the video, and write it down. That way you could do this without having to have the Garmin or take a cell phone with you to tell you when to walk and when to run. If you've been following me on my weight loss video blog, which I suggest you check out, you'll know that I'm currently up to week 11, completed it, about to start week 12, and then after that I'm going to move right into the 10K program and continue my training for running. Hope you enjoyed this video, and like I said, subscribe, hit the like button, and good luck in learning how to run or developing what you need to become a better runner.